Okay, we are well on our way to building a raised bed for less than $100. I've been doing a little bit of work to prep these boards, so let me show you what I got. First of all, these are pine boards. We went with pine boards because that's all that was available at Home Depot in a 2-inch thickness. And then we sealed these up with an eco-friendly sealer. So now they're ready to assemble, and I've done a lot of the work. I'm going to show you what I've done. So if you remember, I purchased these, they're called framing angles, and these are usually made for decking. So I used these framing angles and went ahead and attached them to 2 of the boards. So I'll show you this one. I've got one more, then we're ready to put it all together. So all that I did to assemble and get these boards ready is I just took the framing angle and put it right alongside the board. Because the framing angle, I did find a longer framing angle. This one I think is like 10 inches. Because it's not the exact length of the raised bed, what I wanted to do is make sure it's even on all sides. So I just made it flush with the bottom part of the bed, and that way you're not going to see the framing angle from the top. All right, so all that I did on 2 of the boards is I put the framing angle right along flush with the edge. I marked 3 of the holes. You don't have to do all 6 holes. And then I attached the bracket from the back. So I used I think that's called a bolt, and then a nut and a washer to attach. I haven't tightened these yet. You don't want to tighten everything up until everything is put together. So these are your 2 main boards, and this forms the full 4-foot width of the bed. All right, so now what we're going to do is take the other 2 boards and we're going to place them flush along the outside of this board. And let me show you how we're going to do that. So I've got these 2 in here, and now I'm just realizing as I'm telling you that this is probably going to be, because of the way I put the brackets on, it's maybe not going to be, I don't know, we'll see. It may be a little bit different than a 4x4 bed. Okay, so we've got our 2 boards like this, and now we're attaching them. Now what I've already done is taken these other 2 boards and I pre-drilled the holes on one side. Don't worry, I saved one side to show you. So these are pre-drilled to go right inside this board. So let me show you how this is going to work, and then we'll drill the last section. And you'll be able to see how it all comes together. Okay, so we've got this one piece here, and I'll show you how it's going to line up with the other sides. This is going to go right here on the inside, just like this. And hopefully, hopefully my holes line up somewhat correctly. Yeah, something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in to the, go ahead and attach both sides. Then I'm going to measure my last side because it can fluctuate a little bit. I don't want to go ahead and pre-drill those holes, although it's going to be a little tough to drill the holes. I don't want to pre-drill them and then be off once I've gotten the bed together for the other 3 sides. So let me just show you how I'm going to attach all this, the 3 pieces, and then we'll put on the final piece together. So we're going to be using this as our main piece, this one with the brackets. And then I'm just going to pull together my supplies. All I need are 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3. And then I need 3 washers and 3 nuts. I think that's what they're called. So we got these in a little package of 25, which was so convenient because we basically needed 24. So gives you 1 extra just in case you lose one in the grass or something like that. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to push the screw or the bolt through the back, and then hopefully find the spot that it goes into here on the bed. So you can see how that went right in. I'm not going to screw it all the way in right now, but just get it basically started. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in the second one down at the bottom. And this helps make sure that I've got everything lined up correctly before I push any other pieces in. Let's see here. Sometimes, because I'm not a woodworker or a carpenter or very good with a drill, which you're going to see in just a second, my lines are off on my holes, and so when that happens, I just go back in with a drill bit and I just try to widen my hole a little bit more so that I can fit it in. But somehow it looks like these holes are pretty good. So we're almost there. This is our third one, and now I'm putting in the center. I did notice the pine kind of splits a little bit more than I've noticed cedar does when I was drilling the holes. So the front part of the bed has kind of a different look where the holes are where I put in the bolts. It kind of split a little bit. So what I was referring to, this bed is going to be wider than 4 feet. It's going to be 2 inches wider, and that's on me. That's because the brackets, if I had put it in 2 inches, then it would be exactly 4 feet wide. But because of the way I did it, it's going to be like it's going to be a little bit wider of a bed, which is totally fine, right? Okay, so I've gotten these fairly tightened in, not too tight, because like I said, you want to be able to adjust. And now we're able to put the other side on. So I'm going to lift this piece up. This is the last piece that's going to go on. And now we're going to take this piece that also has the holes attached, and this piece is going to go on the outside. Let me hope that I drilled it correctly. I guess I can always flip it, right? Did I do it right? I think I did it right. Phew! Sometimes I set things like this up and totally mess up the... All right, so I'm going to line this up like this, try to get it as flush as possible, and then I have a pen somewhere in my back pocket, and I'm going to mark the holes, try to keep it flush, and mark the holes where I want to drill. So I just try to go thoroughly into the hole like that, and just making it as on point as possible. Again, you don't have to do all 6, thank goodness, just 3. So now I'm going to slide this one into the edge, again trying to get it as flush as possible, and then I'm going to mark the 3 holes for this one. And now we just have to drill. That's it. All right, so now I'm going to move this piece out, and I have to drill, and I'm real bad at drilling, and I also think I probably have a bad drill bit. So here we go. You want to have a drill bit that is about the size of your bolt. Where is my... There it is. So this thing, I used it yesterday. I think I may have burnt it. Like, it literally caught on fire. It was like smoking. So we'll see if it's got any life left in it today. But basically, you want a drill bit that fits. So if you remember correctly, I think we got, was it a 1/4 inch bolt? I'm trying to remember the width of the bolt that we got. But you want to make sure you get a drill bit that's the right width, so you don't have to drill this twice. And then a strong one is really good, because you're going through very thick wood, 2 inches of it. So at least my experience yesterday was it's tough. So here we go. I'm gonna, yeah, here we go. Let's see what happens. All right, we did it. I had to change shirts. I had to turn off the mic. We had to do a couple little adjustments. If you have trouble like I did, first of all, buying a really good drill bit, having a drill that's not 20 years old, also a plus. And then what we did is Molly helped me. We turned it vertical. You do need someone at this stage to hold up the edge of the bed. And then I was able to use gravity to push it down. So that helped me get it done. So if you have trouble, hopefully those tips will help you. It did take a good bit of muscle to make these holes happen. Now I'm just gonna pray that they're in the right place. So say a prayer with me. Okay, remember we put the top one in first. That holds it, holds the bracket in place and sets the placement for the whole thing. So we put the bracket in, then the washer, and then the bolt, no, the nut. And then we're gonna put the bottom one on. So these are the final steps. You're literally, if you made it this far, you're like minutes away from your first wooden raised bed. So the hardest part literally is the drilling. So let's hope and pray that this hole is straight and in the right spot. Otherwise, I have to drill again. I really don't want to have to do that. Okay. It worked. It worked. So you might have to do a little banging like that. I have noticed a difference too with the pine. Is it splinters? It kind of hurts more than cedar, at least in my own experience. So you end up using 6 bolts, washers, and nuts on each corner of the bed. The reason why I first started doing this, I've been doing this design since I started my business in Houston in 2015. This was the first way I put together a raised bed, and the reason why I did it is because, as you can tell, I'm not a carpenter, and so I didn't really know how to do like corners and trim and stuff. And when I found these little framing angles, I was like, oh my goodness, this is perfect because it allows me to put a bed together and it preserves the corners for planting, which is what I love to do. So I just thought it was an ideal way to put together a bed. So the very first bed I ever put together, I broke my windshield doing it because I bought 12-foot long boards, but I put it together using this method. This is that was the first raised bed garden I ever sold to a client, and it was this style. So it's been working for me for years, and I know it'll work for you too. All right, let's do the final corner. So in this bed, this is a 16 square foot bed. So you could fit at least 150, just about 150 lettuce plants. Okay, let's hope this. Don't film me now. Okay, good. Phew, I was a little afraid that wasn't gonna work. 150 lettuce plants. If you plant peppers, I like to plant, say 2 to 4 a square foot. So in 16 square feet, you can plant at least 35 peppers or 50, something like that, maybe even 64 if you want to push it. If you wanted to plant carrots, I plant about 15 a square foot. So that means you could plant at least like 225 carrots in this bed. If you wanted to do tomatoes, for tomatoes you could do 1 every 1.5 feet, so 1 every 18 inches. So that means in 16 square feet you could probably do 10 tomato plants, something like that. And then my favorite way to plant a bed like this is to plant all those things in here. So not all of that big of a number, but you know, to do tomatoes, peppers, lettuce, carrots, all those things together at once. All right, this one was a little tight, so I'm just screwing it in. with my fingers and it hurts. But y'all, all the holes were lined up. It is a miracle. So I attest a lot of that to the fact that we waited to drill the holes for the last board until the end. I think that was a game changer. So I don't know why I just got another washer. So this worked out perfectly. I have one bolt, one washer, and one nut left from my supplies. So if any of them, you know, I lose any fall off or whatever, I have plenty to replace. And now all I have to do is tighten this up. But y'all, I just made a raised bed. It costs less than $100. I got all the supplies at Home Depot. The only tools I needed were a drill that's 20 years old, a pencil or a pen, and that's it, because I got the boards cut at Home Depot as well. And and then I did get a stain to protect the wood. I did order that off of Amazon. But I hope that this inspires you. This is a raised bed. Anybody can grow in, anybody can build. I think it's beautiful, it's functional, it's gonna look gorgeous when it's all set up. Imagine a little trellis in the middle, imagine it full of tomatoes, peppers, salad, all the stuff. I just can't wait to show y'all how to plant this. So there is a guide with all the details, all the supply list and the step-by-step that you can get for free. It'll probably be, depending on where you're watching, it should be under this video, and you can just download the guide so you can take that with you when you go shopping for all your supplies. And if you want to learn everything about gardening, including, you know, building raised beds, planting them, all that stuff, you got to check out Gardenary 365 if you're not already a member. You can start a free trial at gardenary365.com. Thanks for watching and building a raised bed with me. I love you for it. I'll see you next time. Bye.